All right, we are going to get started. So start in any comfortable seated position. It can be cross-legged. It can just be with your feet out in front of you, whatever comfortable right now on your knees. And let's just roll the shoulders up and back a few times. Just working out any kinks. Just kind of checking in with yourself. And switch directions if you haven't switched directions already. And then we'll just interlace our hands behind our back, draw your shoulders down and back, just sitting up nice and tall, looking forward. So this position really helps counter a lot of the forward hunching we do just every day over our phones, our computers, driving. So just taking a few deep breaths here. And then from here, you can take your fist over to the right side, and we're going to drop our right ear down towards our right shoulder. So basically what you're doing is stretching along the left side of your neck. Taking a few deep breaths. So starting to lengthen your breath here. And just let the head and neck relax. And then you can bring your chin down towards your chest. Take your fist and bring it over to the other side. Bring the other ear down towards that other shoulder. Staying there for a few breaths, just feeling that nice kind of easy stretch along the side of your neck. And then you can bring your hands, or just release your hands, roll your head and neck around once or twice, whatever you feel like you need. And then we'll just come to sitting up nice and tall, either closing your eyes or just kind of softening your gaze, looking out at the water. And just starting to tune in to your inner body. Taking long, deep inhales through your nose. Long, deep exhales out through your nose. And kind of just really being aware and embracing the feeling of being outdoors this evening for exactly as it is. So tonight we have a super calm evening on the water, sun setting, clouds in the sky, and we can hear the sounds of the birds in the city, sounds from the marina, sounds of the fish jumping. So just kind of embracing all this as part of your practice. And if you notice at any time during the practice your mind starts to wander too much, just gently bringing it back to your breath, just bringing it back to the present. Focus on being here now. And take a moment and just kind of remind yourself of something you're grateful for before we start class. And if your eyes are closed, you can slowly open up your eyes, and we're just going to start to move in kind of big circles. So it doesn't matter what direction you start in. Just taking a big wide circle, just kind of warming up your body, like trunk rotations. We'll do 3 or 4 in the same direction. Staying with your breath, so inhaling halfway through the circle, exhaling the other halfway through the circle. And then whenever you're ready, you can switch directions. I'll do one more circle in this direction. All right. And then from here, we're going to make our way into our first Yin Yoga pose. It's going to be a child's pose. So we're going to just come to the center of our mat, Take your knees apart about the width of your mat. Yeah, and perfect. You already know what to do. So if you brought a yoga blanket or a towel, it's really nice to just use as extra padding if you have a thinner mat. So extra padding for your knees. So you want to try to sit back towards your heels and then stretch the arms forward and relax your forehead down. And once you're kind of here in the pose, you want to take a moment and notice where you're feeling the stretch in your body. So just kind of start to tune in. So child's pose is a nice gentle stretch, but it's also good for your back, your inner legs, your hips, and your arms and shoulders. So it's really actually stretching out a lot here. Each pose will be holding about 3 to 5 minutes. So usually about 4 minutes or so. So trying to find, once you're in the pose, trying to find some stillness in that pose. Maybe using this as a time for a type of meditation. Just a time, kind of like a quiet time for yourself. So the name Yin Yoga is based off of the idea of yin and yang. And yang can kind of represent all the busyness in our life, or cardio, vinyasa, different types of more vigorous physical movement. And the yin represents the other part. And the idea is they work best in balance. But on the other side, yin is also not just for the body, also for the mind. So in that idea of yin yang, yang is representing all the time that we're working, we're doing, we're making lists. And yin is that time to kind of try to just kind of quiet the mind and maybe just focus on your breath. Doesn't have to be completely quiet, just kind of noticing the thoughts as they pass, but not really fixating too much on anything in particular. From here, we're just going to add a variation. So you can lift your forehead up, and you're going to walk your hands over to your right side. So coming to a child's pose twist, either just reaching the arms out long, or if you want, you can even bring your left hand on top of your right hand, but allowing your forehead to maybe relax back down again. But really just finding what's comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. It's about kind of finding a good position that you can allow your body to kind of release and relax into the pose. And then when you're ready, you can lift your forehead up. Take your time. So everything is slow here. So just moving nice and slow, your hands to the other side. And just getting a little bit more into the obliques. So noticing the feeling of the stretch along the right side of your body. about 2 or 3 more deep breaths here. And then walking your hands back through to the center. And then slowly walk your hands back. So we're going to come to a counter pose. So option to come to a child's pose counter pose, which is bringing the knees together. Hands behind your back with the palms up. You can bring your head down, or you can just stay up here, kind of interlacing the hands behind your back. But between each pose, we'll kind of just allow ourselves time for a kind of a counter stretch or a transition pose before we move on to the next one. And then from here, we're going to make our way to a seat. All right. And we'll set up for our next pose. So next pose, you're going to take one leg out long, another foot towards your inner thigh, and it doesn't matter which side you start with. Just start with one side, and then we'll switch to the other side. All right, so from here, you're just going to kind of walk your hands to either side of the leg that's out long, and we're going to take our time and, kind of walk your hands down about halfway, and then maybe walk them out a little bit further, and you want to find your edge. So in Yin Yoga, it's a little tricky. Your edge isn't kind of the furthest you can reach and stretch. It's that point where you're getting a good stretch, but you're also able to allow your body to relax into the pose as well. You're not forcing it. You want to, once you're there, kind of at your edge for right now, you want to allow the shoulders to relax, your back to maybe round, your head to relax and round. The focus for this pose, the main target is the legs. So you should feel the stretch in your hamstring. Maybe notice where else you're feeling it. Of course, you'll feel it in your back because our back is kind of rounding forward. But maybe you also start to feel it in your knees. Maybe even your hips as we hold it longer. So in Yin Yoga, we're trying to, instead of stretching the tissues of the muscles, which we do in a more kind of flowy style, a faster paced yoga, we're stretching the tissues beyond the muscles. So the tissues in the ligaments, the joints, and the bones. And those tissues are buried deeper inside, so they take longer to access, which is one of the reasons we hold the poses longer, and that we need to be a little bit more gentle. So you just kind of take your time into the pose. You don't want to be tense in the pose, because if you're tensing, that means usually probably your muscles are taking over the stretch and you're not allowing it should be a passive stretch. So allowing the tissues to be reached. And what that does is it's really good getting those tissues. It helps to restore fluidity back into those tissues in the joints that we naturally lose just over time. From here, we're just going to add a variation. So you're just going to walk your hands over to the center, so between your knee and your foot, either reaching the arms out long, or if you want, just kind of relaxing on your forearms. Taking about 2 more deep breaths here. And then take your time to walk your hands back, just moving nice and slow. You might feel a little bit stiff afterwards. That's normal. So we're just going to kind of shake the legs out a little bit in between. And then we'll take the legs out, feet out wide, windshield wiper our knees side to side a few times. And that helps to release tension in our spine. And then from here, we're going to do a reverse tabletop. So bringing your heels in towards you, hands behind you, you're going to lift the hips up. And this is kind of a nice counter stretch for the forward folding. So staying here about 5 breaths. Good, and then you can slowly lower back down, and we're just going to switch sides. So just set up for the other side. Take your time making your way into the pose. So we don't want the foot flexed here. We want it relaxed, coming down halfway, and then finding your edge. And your edge at the beginning of the stretch should be different than it is 30 seconds or even a minute or more into the stretch. So as we hold these poses longer, it just takes about 30 seconds. You should be able to go a little bit deeper. And once you're there in the pose, trying to find some stillness. Stillness in your body, stillness in your mind. Seeing if you can go a little bit further. Yin Yoga is also really good to complement, I guess, cross-training. So it's really good to help with injury prevention if you do other sports or injury recovery. And then from here, you can take your time. We're just going to walk our hands over to the center between our knees and our leg, either coming onto your forearms or just reaching the arms out long, just finding a comfortable place here. Oh, 1 or 2 more deep breaths here. And then you can slowly walk your hands back, taking your time, maybe just pausing. And you sit up straight, and then just kind of shaking out the legs. And we'll windshield wiper side to side a few times. And then we'll come to reverse tabletop. So same counter stretch again, bringing the heels in towards you, lifting the hips up. Maybe let your head drop back if that feels okay. And then you can lower back down. Great. If you have water, grab a drink of water. And we're going to do our next pose is called shoelace pose or half shoelace pose. So take your right leg out. So option 1, so half shoelace pose, you're going to take the other foot, you're going to cross at the ankle, and you're going to try to walk it as far across as you can. So this one, it'll just depend. It'll be different for everyone. Some people might be here. Some people, maybe you'll be able to stack your knees. From there, either you can keep that leg out long, if that you get a little bit more in the hamstring. Right now, you should be feeling the hip. Or if you can do it fairly comfortably, you can bend both knees. If you can keep both hips down. So if one hip's really up and it's uncomfortable, then you want to keep that other leg out. And then just to kind of, if you're here, kind of just notice if you bring your heels in towards you, that actually decreases the stretch for the hip. And if you kind of walk the feet away, it increases the stretch. So this part is mostly for your hip on your left side, that top leg. From here, we're going to add a twist. So it's going to be the knee that's on top. You're going to take the opposite arm to that knee and then look over your shoulder. So in your twist, you want to sit up tall, lengthen through your spine, looking over the shoulder. So getting a little neck stretch as well by looking behind you. So the neck, the different ways you stretch it is, forward, back, side to side, and then just like we're doing now, twisting it. And then we'll come back through to the center, and we'll take the other hand, your right hand down to the side, reach up long, your left arm, and we're just going to stretch up and over. So stretching the side, the oblique muscles. So bending that elbow a little. So you reach over to the side. It's about 5 breaths. Good, and then you can make your way back up. So from here, to get further stretch for the hips, you're just going to walk your hands forward. So you may feel it already, it's enough when you're right here. But just kind of notice as you start to come forward, that starts to increase the stretch in your hips. So if you're coming forward, come nice and slow, allow your shoulders to relax, allow your body to just kind of relax and release into the pose. So just try not to tense up anywhere and not worrying where you are in the pose. If you're at the same place the person next to you is, or it's about everyone getting a good stretch and feeling good in your body. Let's take about 2 or 3 more deep breaths. And then you can slowly walk your hands back, just taking your time. And then we're going to untwist the legs, just shaking them out in front of you. All right, and our counter stretch is going to be a mini Shavasana. So just lying flat on our back for about 5 or 6 breaths. So it's important in yoga to kind of allow yourself a little bit of time between each poses to allow those tissues just that time to kind of relax before you move to the next pose. So when you're working the muscles, usually you feel that soreness like the day after or 2 days after, but when we're working the deeper tissues, you might feel that stiffness or that soreness right afterwards, but then it usually goes away after at least a minute or so, or less. All right, so you can make your way back up. Sorry, guys. And we're going to set up for the other side. I know. I almost don't like that as a counter pose because it's too relaxing. So opposite leg is going to go out long. Seeing how this side feels. So starting out here, one side might feel a lot different than the other side. That's normal for some people. So either staying here with that leg out long during the pose or checking, seeing if you can bend back and it still feels okay. If you're bending back, remember bringing the heels in closer. It's going to decrease that stretch in the outside of the hip. Pressing the heels kind of out in a way will get deeper. But you want both sit bones down. All right, so from here we're going to do that twist. So whatever knee's on top, take that opposite hand to that knee, and you're going to twist looking over your shoulder. And then make your way back through to the center, and we're going to do that side stretch. You can take your left hand down or just the other hand down to the side. Reach up with the other arm, stretching up and over, stretching those oblique, the side muscles. About 5 deep breaths. And then you can walk your hands, come back through to the center, and then either just staying sitting up straight, or you can start to walk your hands forward to get deeper into the hip stretch. Yeah, 2 or 3 more deep breaths here. Take your time to make your way out of the pose. I'm crossing the legs and just shaking them out a little bit. If you want, grabbing a drink of water, and then we're going to come onto our bellies. All right. So we're just going to rest on, so we're going to do a belly shavasana as our counter stretch for a few breaths. So you can just rest your forehead on your hands for a few breaths. And then we're going to make our way up into Sphinx pose. So you're going to make your way up onto your forearms. All right. So your elbows underneath your shoulders. And then you just, yeah, perfect. So elbows under the shoulders or even just a little bit forward. And then making sure the shoulders are away from your ears. And this stretch is for our lower back mostly. So just kind of noticing, feeling your lower back. If you bring your head down, it's going to just slightly decrease the stretch in your lower back. If you bring your head forward or even just a little bit up, it'll just kind of slightly increase the stretch in your lower back. So consciously relaxing those muscles. Coming back to your breath.
It sounded like a baby.
Is that your buddy, Laura? There's a lot of, there's a lot of actually big fish around the boat that eat off of the barnacles. And yeah, there's like a sheep's head out there. Yeah. I don't know if that was it. That's Josh's buddy too. All right, so from here, you can either stay here. So we're going to be here about 1 minute longer. Or if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can take the hands wider and straighten the elbows. And you don't have to do this for the whole minute. You can maybe just do it for a few breaths because it is more intense. And then come back into the Sphinx pose. About 2 or 3 more breaths. And then you can make your way down. Our counter stretch is going to be belly shavasana, but this time just taking your hands beside you, palms up, and one side of your head down. And then you can lift your head up and just bring the other cheek down or the other side of your head down. And then taking our time to make your way back up, we're going to come back up to a seat. All right. So our next pose is just a seated forward fold. If you brought a towel, so, a lot of times in Yin Yoga we use more props, but we're not using props now, but I didn't tell you guys to bring one, but if you do, you can put kind of roll it skinny, so you can place it under your knees, or any of you can just have a little bend in your knees. So just allowing the knees to soften in the pose, as opposed to having them super straight and flexed. Allowing the ankles to soften, the knees to soften, and just slowly making your way, rounding your back, rounding your shoulders, making your way forward, and finding your edge in the pose. So Yin Yoga is a slower type of yoga, and sometimes people think it's like restorative yoga, but it's a lot different. So restorative yoga, there's some similarities, is the idea is it's more to neutralize your body, to just make in each different pose that you do is to kind of restore your body and make it in the most kind of comfortable position. And Yin Yoga is really trying to stretch your body. So trying to get a really kind of deep flexibility, but in a gentle way. So just kind of checking in and seeing if you can go a little bit further than you could when you first started in this pose. And noticing where in your body you're feeling the stretch. So this is mostly targeting our hamstring muscles. So allowing those muscles to relax into the pose. And then we'll be here about 3 more deep breaths. And take your time to walk your hands back. All right, just kind of pausing at the top. Maybe windshield wipering your knees side to side a few times. Moving nice and slow. And we'll do that reverse tabletop. Again, bringing your heels in towards you, hands behind you, lifting up. And then you can lower back down. All right, we're going to finish on our back. So if you want to grab one more drink of water, you can. So we have a really pretty sky tonight and nice half moon that we can look at while we're on our back. So once you're there on your back, just hug your knees in towards your chest and just do a few circles to start with. Maybe 3 or 4 circles in each direction. And then we'll keep that right knee, hug it in towards our chest, take your left leg out long. And we're going to come to a twist. So you're going to bring that right knee up and over to the left side. You can take that right arm and either bring it out to the side or just bend at the elbow, just kind of allowing it to relax up overhead. Maybe looking up to the sky or even just closing your eyes. And so for the twisting, it's mostly good for your spine, for your back. Maybe you also feel it because we have that knee over to the side a little bit in your hip or maybe some other parts of your body. And then you can take your time to make your way back through to the center, and we're just going to stretch it out in between. So reaching your arms up overhead, straightening your legs, taking a nice long stretch all the way from your toes up through your fingers. And then you can bend the left knee, bringing that left knee in towards your chest. And we'll bring that left knee up and over to the right side, just coming into the same twist on the other side. Left arm either out long to the side or just kind of bent at the elbow up overhead. And then just make your way back through to the center, taking your time, stretching it out again, reaching the arms up overhead, straightening the legs. All right, and we're just going to come to a short happy baby pose. So you can bring the knees in towards your chest, take the feet out wide, reaching for the outsides of the ankles or the outsides of the feet, rocking side to side, feeling the stretch in your hip, the outside of your hip, maybe your glutes, your inner legs. And then from here, you can bring your feet together, and we're going to place them down for a lying down butterfly stretch. So feet together, just allow the knees to kind of relax down by the side. Maybe allow your palms to just relax by your side. Coming to a normal breath. Starting to really let your body just relax. And then if this feels good, you can stay here, or you can straighten your legs, making your way into Shavasana. So just a final relaxation pose. We'll just be here for about 3 minutes. So Shavasana, it's the same as any of the other poses in Yin Yoga. So we just hold it about the same amount of time. But just allowing your back to lie flat. Just kind of scanning your body and noticing if you have any tension areas in your body. And just consciously trying to allow that area to relax. Just allow yourself to release and let go. And then from here, take a nice deep inhale. Complete exhale. And one more time. Nice deep inhale. Complete exhale. Start bringing movement back to your body. So maybe rolling out your ankles, rolling out your wrists. Maybe bending your knees or stretching your arms up overhead again. Rolling onto one side and just kind of pausing on your side for 2 or 3 breaths. When you're ready, making your way all the way up to a seat. Good. So we'll finish by bringing our hands to our heart center. And we'll take one more deep inhale, reaching our arms out and up, pressing our palms together to bring our hands back down. And just take a moment here to kind of reflect on your practice. Just feeling a sense of gratitude for the beautiful evening, for being able to be out here and each other's company. And just allow the positive energy that you feel to be a benefit to yourself and the people around you throughout the evening and throughout the day tomorrow. Namaste. All right. What a great evening. Feel like we're somewhere else, not quite in Corpus, you know, but in different, just it feels different.